Do you have any practical tips for us to take that we can put into place to actually kind of be mentally well as we enter this next phase?
I think, I mean, look, there's just some of the usual stuff, and that's the stuff that happens, you know, whether it's COVID or not COVID or whatever, and that's obviously looking after yourself. And looking after yourself means sleeping well, eating well, doing some exercise, doing some things you enjoy. And as we know, because it's been really front and centre, is how important connecting with others is, you know, meaningful connection. So we can now do that without screens, which is really quite lovely, and I would certainly encourage people to do that. But I think as well there needs to be a lot of compassion and patience around this transition. So we have been in a phase of transition for a really long time. In fact, even though there was this period of lockdown, shall we say, it still didn't necessarily feel too permanent, because it was always like at some point it's going to change. So when humans experience transition, it's really, really stressful. You are literally, you're not swimming from one end of the pool to the other end and tapping the ends at each time. You're literally treading water and just kind of, you know, moving somewhere in the middle. And that's where we've been. And I think a lot of patience needs to be given to us and our loved ones around the impact that that has on us and each other, and that we're all going to respond at times in an unhelpful way. I also think really using it as an opportunity. I mean, I don't want to get too, what's the word? I think there's been a lot of pressure for people to see the gifts of COVID and the downtime and reinvent yourself, learn something new. And I just think, oh my God, seriously, let's just get through this. So I don't want to kind of go down that path, but at the same time, I do think life has presented an opportunity for us to think about, you know, what is really important. And while we may not be able to hang on to all the things that we've learned by not doing all the things that made us frantic, I think there's a few things. If people can think about what are one or two really small things that have been helpful for me, whether it's adding something or removing something, then hanging on to those through this period of time, I think will be a really important factor. And I guess then the other thing is around what I call the anchor. So we all need to find our anchor, and that's not necessarily someone else, although hopefully partners and families and friends can serve as a bit of an anchor. But the things that make you feel steady. And I think, just as an example, you know, my own example is work is something that is so familiar to me. I've been doing it for a long time. It's a place where I can feel helpful and useful, and I guess it gives me a lot of satisfaction and nice feelings. And so that for me is very much an anchor. And when I've gone through other tricky times in my life where people might have said, "You're going to work and this has just happened," I'm like, yeah, because that's where I feel capable. That's where I feel productive. That's where I feel I'm being useful. And that's also where I feel I've got a degree of control. It might be a little bit false, but, you know, there's a sense of I can do something effective here. So for me, that's one of my anchors. People might think that's a really bad thing to have your work as your anchor. Too bad, so sad. That's how it is for me. So find your anchors. Find the thing that makes you feel very much like you and steadies you. And for some people, it's exercise. For some people, it's something else, you know.